Hello everyone, Creative Fun here, back again with another video, and this time we're in the cockpit of the AV8B Harrier. I've been recently getting back into the Harrier again, and I think it's very fun to fly. And I made a video about this aircraft roughly a year ago, essentially going through the motions of how to become quickly efficient and being awesome with the Harrier. And most of that is still very much true today. I don't think there's any inaccuracy in that video still today, even though some things have changed with the Harrier. But I'm going to make a couple of videos basically as a follow-up to that original video. I'm going to go through a couple of things. As you can see in the title by this video, we're going to check out a new procedure actually on how to land the Harrier. And that has nothing to do with any changes Raspberry has done, but there are other changes in real life that I wanted to implement and test out with the Harrier, and I think it's really cool. In the coming videos, we're also going to check out a few of the new capabilities the Harrier has, and we're going to check out how to use them effectively in combat. But in this video, we're going to focus on rolling landings. And what that is essentially you're doing a regular type short takeoff and landing with the Harrier. But when you land, instead of hovering next to the carrier and then gliding in slowly landing, like I showed you in my original video, we're going to maintain a fixed approach to the Tarawa, and we're going to slowly set her down at a speed of around between 40 and 60 knots. And this allows for landing with higher payload, and we're going to land with the payload you can see here. We're going to land with roughly around 60% fuel, 67% fuel, two GBU-16, which are pretty heavy, and two Sidewinders. An amount of weaponry that the Harrier would never be able to land with in hover mode efficiently, especially not with that amount of fuel. Because when you do the hover landing, it does not allow you to land with very much payload. And the reason why I tried out this new technique has nothing to do with RASPAM itself or anything with the US Marine Corps, but actually to do with the British Navy and the F-35B, because they recently switched to a rolling type landing procedure for the F-35B to allow it to return and recover with higher payload, and thus allowing it to take off with a certain amount of weapon system without having to drop that weapon system when going back to land. And it's much gentler for the surface of the carrier, the landing strip, because it essentially means that you have less amount of very hot jet exhaust being blown onto the deck at one specific point, and that's of course very good for the longevity of the carrier. So, I'll see you guys once I've taken off and lined myself out with Tarawa again. Okay, so we're approaching Tarawa right now. I have a nozzle around 60 degrees, and I'm just below or around 100 knots and lining up for the final approach for Tarawa. And you can see my water here is around 380. I used some water on takeoff, of course. And I'm going to go now here and set my nozzle to around 70. There we go, and I've set my STO flaps, gear down, and of course water to landing. Essentially what I do here is just to aim for the deck of Tarawa, and I'm going to try to use as little water as possible. It is possible if you're very light to not even having to set the use of H2O at all, which is of course very nice. So we're going to line up here with the Tarawa on the deck here. And we are around 60 knots now, which is actually a very good approach speed for this type of landing. And once we touch down, we are going to throttle back, of course, and turn our nozzles to 100 degrees, so they point a little bit forward here. That's going to be essential to brake effectively with the Harrier. So, and this approach I found is much easier than the hovering, because it requires less work. You need to of course manage your descent and everything, and try to touch down slowly, but it does work very well, this approach here. So you can see we're coming over deck here. I'm going to try to focus so I don't crash here, and just trying to work with the throttle so we don't touch down too early. And here we go, we're down, throttle forward, brakes, throttle up a bit, and then brakes off, nozzle forward, and I would say a perfect landing. We're landing with well over 50% fuel, I think here. It's a total of 5,000 pounds fuel left, and if we check outside here, you can see I touched down with 2 GBU-16s, a lightning pod and sidewinders, very nicely. So not an overly complicated procedure, and we just approach the turbo as you would do if you're going to do the regular hover and land. But instead of going around 83, between 80 and 83 degrees on the nozzle, you go 70 degrees on the nozzle. You maintain around 60 knots and just let the speed go down. If it goes below 60, that's absolutely no problem. And then you adjust using the throttle, and just keep your descent like on right at the edge of the landing deck here. And once you touch down, you go first off with the throttle, brakes on, make sure you put the nozzle all the way forward 100 degrees, and then you throttle up a bit, not too much. You might literally take off if you throttle up full power, but throttle up a fair bit, and it will help with the braking. And you see, as you saw, I stopped very effectively, and I brought her back down with quite a lot of fuel, quite a lot of weapon systems, something that's really difficult and downright impractical, or I would say downright dangerous to do if you're doing the hover and the sliding in approach, as I showed in my previous videos. So this was the first episode in a series of videos trying to keep up with the Harrier and still maintaining your awesomeness with the Harrier. In the next episode we're gonna have a look at lasers, because of course lasers. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all those social stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Creative fun checking out.